I'm Bear Grylls, and this is ThePuckington.
Boom! Hello people, what is going on? I am back again. I wasn't here last week because it was New Year's, so let me off for that one, please. But I don't have too much time to talk about what I want to talk about today, and that is, of course, what was suggested to me by a fellow subscriber, I assume, by the name of blah blah. I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me, so I'm going to put his name on the screen as a shout out. So thanks to you for suggesting this, and that's, of course, to delve into what inspires me to go out there and adventure and climb, etc. And I thought the best way to explain this is to go into my first experience on climbing a mountain, which was Mount Snowdon in Wales. It's a very small mountain compared to what's out there, but as amateurs, this was an overwhelming, unforgettable, and an amazing experience. So without further ado, let me just get this goddamn story rolling, man. So getting into it, the best way to explain why I fell in love with it was obviously how it started, which is a weird one, so brace yourselves. Because it started when I researched a fair bit into conspiracy theories and all that business, and although I still mildly do, I don't believe in everything I read as much as I did, though no regrets, as obviously it spawned a passion which changed my life for the better. So before the Olympics, I had read a finalised date that things would apparently take the turn for the worst, and I thought, hey, look, if it's the end of the era, the world or wherever, at least let me go somewhere and do something I've always wanted to do and aspire to, which is, of course, adventure. Bear in mind, like, my favourite trilogy is the Lord of the Rings, so you can understand what kind of adventure I was looking for. Obviously with more of a realistic twist, because I can't fight orcs and ogres and shit, but you can get what I mean with the landscapes and the travelling, etc. You know, that's what I've always loved. But anyway, I picked a place, Mount Snowdon, which we believed was the highest mountain in the UK at the time, but then we realised it was the second highest, but we didn't care, we went for it. And sorry, I'm saying we, I obviously brought my trusty cousin because we are almost the same people in a lot of respects, so it only makes sense. So we finally make it to Wales after this long ass horrible train ride on these stupid rocky trains that just made us feel sick the whole time. Thank you, Virgin. So we stumble around this city in search of where we need to get to, and eventually we get there and we have to order a taxi to actually get to the mountain itself. And the taxi arrives and this man comes out with his buttons undone and his hair protruding out of his chest, and he stinks like he hasn't showered in months, and there's cans and crisp packets all over his goddamn floor of a taxi. And then he drives us, and he's driving crazy, and then he's driving around this cliff face towards the mountain, and as he comes around this bend, he just swerves and narrowly misses this bus. You know, you could hear the metals cranking in between as they pass each other, and then eventually we make it to the mountain just about with our lives. And we find a campsite conveniently placed just below the mountain itself, so we could set ourselves up with our tent that we didn't even try beforehand. So that just goes to show how amateur and foolish we were, but luckily it worked. And then as night fell, we were absolutely shitting ourselves, let me tell you. We saw what we believed to be a bat fly past us. You know, the mist is dropping severely, so we're losing visibility. Night's approaching fast, and we're hearing so many different noises. I mean, at this point, we're just both sitting in our tent, looking at each other thinking, what the hell did we get ourselves into? I mean, personally, I don't even know how we survived the night, because if you go and ask any experienced mountaineer or adventurer out there, a camping mat is the most essential piece of equipment you can bring when you're camping. And that is the one thing we forgot. I have no more to say on that matter, you know? We just about scraped through the night is all I can say. Anyway, we finally start our journey up this mountain. So the beginning of the journey starts out quite bland. I mean, all you could see is the valley ahead, and basically it's just beautiful scenery. Nothing interesting is really happening until we arrive at the stairs, and these stairs are basically like a never-ending stairway to heaven. You know, you get to the top and oh, there's more, and you just got to keep going, keep going, keep going. For us, we were quite unfit for this long, arduous ascent. But finally, we make it to this point where the steps disintegrate into rubble and rocks, and you're sort of fumbling around trying to find what you think is a pathway, because the mist is sitting around you, giving you only about 5 meters of visibility from every direction. So you can just about understand what it's like trying to find where you need to go, especially when you have no map and no compass and nothing to guide you around. So, you know, the only thing we actually had to rely on was finding people. So we had to just go for broke, and then whenever we find someone, we have to take their word and keep going the way they guide us to. And eventually we hit this point where it looked near vertical. I mean, we were told previously that we were going to hit a scree slope, but we had no idea what a scree slope was. So we were still trying to work that out in our head as we were climbing. And when we reached this point, we just thought, no, this can't be the way, this is impossible. I mean, for us, this is just ridiculous. Plus, we had this 1.5 litre bottle stashed inside this duffel bag full of our toiletries also. So one of us was one-handed at any given time. I mean, even the clothes we were wearing was ridiculous. We had jeans, we had casual jackets, we had these cheap-ass hiking trainers. Then again, trying not to feel sorry for us. But moving on, we eventually decide that it has to be the way, because every other path we get to is a dead end, and this, you know, scree slope is the only feasible way we can actually go up. So we make our way up, we start climbing, and bear in mind we have to keep exchanging the bags here and there. Nonetheless, we keep on moving, we keep on going, we keep exchanging the bag, we keep up this teamwork, and we're going and we're pushing and we're pushing and we're pushing. And finally, we see these steps just slowly form through the mist, and we're just immediately showered with this overwhelming sense of achievement that we did it. We pushed on and we made it. We never gave up. We set out with a mission and we accomplished it. That's what it's all about, you know, never backing down. That's what I love. I love the discipline of it all. I love the fact that, you know, even when you feel like you've got nothing left, you still do. Deep within yourself, you still have something to keep you pushing on. And that's what we did. We dug in deep with ourselves and we said we're going to do it, and we did it. And that's that. Little did we know though, getting to the top is only 50% of the journey. I'll cut it short and brief though. Basically, the wind was a lot more fierce on the way down, and it would come in short bursts at any given moment. You know, there'd be times where I would lose my footing and I'd just start jogging down the mountain because I couldn't control myself. I'd look back at my cousin and be like, shit, you know, I'm not actually moving like this on my own, and I'd have to drop down and hold onto a rock. And there'd also be a time where we're crossing this steep little ledge where it's overhanging a drop, and as soon as we decide to go across it, this burst of wind just slaps us in the back and pushes us forward. Luckily, we dropped ourselves back onto the rock just before we flew over the edge. I'm telling you, we looked at each other and we thought, shit, that was goddamn close, motherfucker. To our surprise though, it starts easing out and it's just a nice straight path around the lake with some beautiful scenery, and we can start making our way home. And finally we make it home, and it comes to a point where my cousin has to depart and go his own way, and it may sound a bit cheesy, but it almost felt like a part of me was departing. You know, if this bond that was created in the wild is nothing that I've ever experienced anywhere in the materialistic city of London. You know, out in the wild is just completely different when you've got to rely on the person next to you with your life, but at the same time experiencing all that there is to experience out there with someone else. It just creates this indestructible bond, and when I look back on the whole experience, it just felt like I entered this portal into another world and then came back to London. But from that point on, I realized I have to do something that I can pursue and live that life. And that's why I started pursuing becoming a mountain guide. See, I believe if you believe in what you want to do, no matter what anyone says, no matter how much doubt is upon you, you can bend reality to make it a reality. And as even Will Smith said, the universe will then mold a pathway for you, or something like that. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this Puck. Peace.